Yo, what's going on, fam? Welcome one and all. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a fantastic start to the day. Carlin, what's going on with you? How are you? Good morning.
Dude,
Good morning, guys.
Who's that? Facebook user. Good morning. Let's see what's going on today. Well, Jesse, my absolute favorite thing in nature. I'm sure you can guess. Probably by now.
I thought you were going somewhere else, but you're going to say ice cream. In nature, got it.
Kind of. It's like they make nature's ice cream, I guess.
There we go. Okay, we can use that.
I was watching my bees this morning. First and foremost, my beehive, they up and dipped. So there's just like a couple bees left hanging around the hive. And I was kind of watching them. And it was just really interesting because today's topic is...
Bees.
Bees. No, it's discipline. Today's topic is discipline, which is interesting because I was watching my bees and they have like a level of tenacity I don't think could be possibly replicable anywhere else in nature. Like just the level of dedication and the level of discipline and focus, like they have a sole objective. And I was just sitting there watching them, and at each point in their life, at each stage of their life, they have a different job, and that is all they do. And it was just really interesting because I was sitting there, I was like, man, if people were like bees, the world would be so different.
That's interesting. So you're saying that bees focus on one thing is what I'm hearing from you.
Literally, that's it. At each stage of their life, they have a different job.
Interesting.
And that is the only thing they do.
Kind of like starting and running a business.
Kind of, yeah.
Amazing how much you should write a book on and call it like Business with Bees, or mind your beeswax.
It's beesness.
I love it. Do they have more tenacity than Terry Hineker? Thank you for being here, by the way, Terry.
I don't think they do.
They probably come second to Terry. Bees probably come second to Terry. Terry is a pretty self-driven, and he's got the tenacity of a grizzly bear. Did I get that right, Terry? That's great business. Oh my gosh, this is the best part of my freaking week. I love Fridays. I love TGIF. Thank you guys for being here. We have an amazing guest for you guys today. Before we get too deep into this, I want to go over a few announcements real quick. Ken Wilson, what's going on, baby? Pam's my BFF. Grady Iverson is such a wonderful human being. He and I went and got some lunch, breakfast 2 days ago. And it was absolutely wonderful. It was fantastic. It was the first time in my life that I have ever when I find something, Carlin, Grady, you didn't even know this. You got to witness history today. When I find something, like I stick with it. That's the only thing that I get. For as long as I can remember, I have always gotten pancakes. No matter where I go, if I'm going to get breakfast somewhere, 100% of the time, probably since I was 6 years old, I would get pancakes. Pancakes are my all-time favorite food, by the way.
Oh.
And so I always get pancakes. I don't remember a time where I've ever not gotten pancakes for breakfast before. And Grady texts me, and he's an amazing investor. He's in sub 2, and he's in Anchorage. He's like, hey, I'm coming out to Wasilla. Would love to meet up and let's get some breakfast or something. I was like, dude, let's do it. And he texted me while I was at the gym. It was me and Nick were at the gym. We were trying to get swole. More to come on that actually later today. We're going to learn a lot. Today's going to be a great episode, guys. But Nick and I, and then we had Jacob, his brother, meet us with Grady over at a place called the gosh dang it. Now, what the hell is it called? The Trout House. I think it's what it's called. Classic Alaska restaurant name, right? The Trout House. But I got there. I went there and I ordered an all-meat omelet. We just got done hitting the gym, and I was like, dude, the amount of things, Carlin, that I am limiting myself to this year, like the amount of my level of accountability and the things that I am limiting in my life have become very conscious very intentional this year to include my diet. And that was the first time that I can remember in my entire life where I didn't even negotiate with myself. I was like, nope, we're having a protein packed breakfast. I didn't order pancakes. So Grady got to witness history in the making.
Jeez.
So it was a lovely, lovely breakfast. Rebels Haven, dude, what's going on, Joe? This is my hippie buddy. He and I we joined the Air Force together. Thank you for being here. He's actually up here in Alaska. He's right down the road. Dude, we need to, you, me, and Ken. Awesome. Yeah, me and you and Ken, we all need to go grab some lunch together again sometime. So thank you guys for being here. Oh, there it is. The Trout House. Yep, Grady got it. The Trout House. It was super good. So if anybody ever comes up to Alaska, which we have a lot of people coming up to Alaska, a lot of investors that are coming up to Alaska this year, and we're going to fish. We're going to mastermind. We're going to do all the things. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Is
Chris,
this a...
You want to hear something quick? Can I share something funny with you?
Yeah.
When I first met Chris, it was like Chris James. Anytime that I ever had to get on a call with Chris James, it was never Chris. It's always Chris James. And naturally, Rick James, bitch. You know what I mean? So we started getting on meetings, and I was like, it's Chris James, bitch. Like Dave Chappelle, you know, the Rick James biatch thing. And I thought I was so excited because I was like, I bet Chris has never heard this before. And I was like the millionth person to say it to him. So it's not super original, but yeah, Chris and Grady and Carlin, everybody's going down to Florida next month.
I actually, Luke, no, I'm not going to squat up. I'm actually going to be there at the same time as a wedding. So I'll be at a wedding. Grady, I'm not going to squat up. But I'll be able to party with you guys. Yeah. Jesse's going to go too. He doesn't know it yet.
No, yeah. No, I'll be there. I'll be there for show. For show.
Wait, for real? Are you lying? Are you playing with my feelings?
Oh, come on, girl. I'm always down to party. I'm always down.
Yeah, April. Angel's
Brady,
birthday.
this is such a good idea. This is on the horizon for everybody who doesn't know. More to come on this. Thank you for that sneak peek, Grady. Appreciate you, buddy. Carlin, let's get to some announcements real quick. What can people expect? We've got a lot of stuff going on. One of the things, and I've shared this with you guys before, one of the things that's absolutely transformed my life is my ability to learn from others. And books are such an amazing way to do that. Like we have everybody who, you all these just amazing authors. And they go and apply things, they fail, they learn things, and then they document it it's literally just you know what's ironic? The blueprint to making millions and millions of dollars is literally sitting on the shelf at Target.
Or Walmart.
And what I love about what you're doing, Carlin, is you're literally taking these blueprints, you're taking these puzzle pieces to these blueprints, and you are bringing other people who are wanting to grow into a collaborative meeting and being able to be very intentional with that information, and not only the information from the author's perspective, but being able to take the perspectives of everybody else in there. You want to kind of share a little bit about what that is, what you guys have been doing, and then where you're going right now?
Yeah. So book club, guys. The
book
secret words. Book club. So we're reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind right now. And so far, this has been an absolutely fabulous book. I cannot express how much, like, we've had some absolutely amazing and absolutely engaged conversations about this book. And so we're wrapping this one up. But I really wanted to hit home on the next book, Jesse, because I announced it last week in book club, and I'm finally ready to announce it here. Our next book is...
Hold your breath. Oh, you did the same thing. I didn't think you were going to... We both did it together.
Yes,
tell us we're not on the same wavelength.
So Facebook user. Yes, last week was so good. Like, we had a absolutely amazing conversation. So the next book is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Gosh.
And oh no, I'm reading it for the 4th time today. 4 times already. Because there's just so much in it that you can really absorb, and there's so many things to think about, and it's simultaneous. So the power of the subconscious mind and outwitting the devil, there's just what parallels in both of them is there is so much information to take in that is so relevant to the way we live our lives, to the way that we think, the way we act, the way we communicate, the way we engage in society. And I cannot express how much I really, really want to hit home Outwitting the Devil, guys, because go get the book. Go get the book. That's why. I want everybody to be there because it is such a transformative group of people. And if you want to make changes, that's where they're happening.
You know what's crazy is you probably, and everybody in here's probably experienced this. I know I'm that guy. I'm that guy that's like, oh, you got to read this book, and then you got to read this book, and then you got to read this book. Seriously, like I know that people like have these recommendations. It's like that friend who's like, you got to go see this movie, man. You got to go see this movie. But listen, I cannot overstate. It's got to be. I've probably read just last year alone. I read 54 books. I've read another. I just finished number 14 already this year. So in the last, we'll call it 15 months, Outwitting the Devil has probably got to be in my top 2, if not the number 1 pick for books that I've read. And oh my gosh, it is so transformative. And what makes it so good is not only the information in that book is unparalleled, but the way that it's delivered. It's literally an interview with the devil. And he talks about his origins. He talks about what his role is for everybody. And he talks about how he's able to hold people captive and keep that like how being poor affects how he's able to take people captive. Like it is so crazy. And the way that it is laid out, and especially the audio, get the audio book, because whoever they got to play the devil in this was crazy. And to my understanding, Carla, I mean, this was written in 1938. It was not published until 2011 because the information in there is like so mind-boggling, guys. It talks about the universe. It talks about the power of your thoughts. It talks about attracting abundance. I can't even say, like, it's just so good. It's so good. And the way that it's portrayed, like to my understanding, they don't actually know whether or not this was in a dream. They don't know if this was made up. They don't know if he actually had a conversation with the devil. To my understanding, they didn't, and the author passed away in 1970. And this wasn't published because the content and everything in there and what it would do to people who read it. There's a reason it wasn't released until 2011. So interesting. You guys have to get it. Get the audiobook. It is so good. And come to book club. Joe, it is called Outwitting the Devil. You have to get this audiobook today. Outwitting the Devil. It is absolutely amazing.
I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to put money on it that if you get the audiobook today, you'll read it at least 2 times before we even start the book.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down. It was so good.
I cannot express how amazing this book is. Like, if you're not gonna be here for this book club, which is next Friday, totally cool. But please, still welcome to come participate, come hang out, join. Don't miss this next book.
Thank you, guys. I saw Grady put the link in the Facebook chat. Thank you, Grady. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you guys for being here. We have an amazing guest coming on today. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together and make some noise for the man, the myth, the legend, Zack Busch.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I don't know if I can bring that level of energy, but I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, dude, thank you for being here, bro. How are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Good. Yeah, things are quite busy, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, it's cold here. So it was actually 70 here last week, so it was like nice.
So it
Nice
dropped down
break.
to 50s and you're saying that it's cold. Is that what's going on?
It's more like the 30s or 40s, but yeah,
Oh,
we're
wow.
yeah, which I guess saying that to you probably is like no big deal, but yeah.
Oh, it dropped 50 degrees, 40, 50 degrees. That's pretty significant.
Yeah. So it was it's always nice getting a taste of it, but man, is it rough. It goes back.
Are you looking to move to warmer climate like I am?
No, I don't think so. My parents made that move. They moved from here, which is like Philadelphia, to Scottsdale a year and a half ago because of the weather. My sister lives in Del Rio, Texas, so they're all in the warm weather. I'm stuck up here in the cold.
Ooh.
Yeah.
When you making that jump, bro?
Whenever my wife's family moves too.
So we need to go find a big complex for everybody.
Pretty much. Yep.
Do you know who Patrick Bet David is?
Yeah.
I heard an interview with him one time, and he was talking about, he's such a family guy, and his entire motive for generating wealth and living life on his terms, all these other kind of things, was so that he can have his family with him. And so his whole idea was like, I just want to be around my family. I want to be around my kids. I want to be around my kids' kids. I want to be around my in-laws. I want to be around my parents. Like, I don't want to feel like I have to sacrifice or split my time or anything. So his entire motivation was to go. He went like he bought this just gigantic mansion, dude, this big house, and he moved everybody into his house, man. And I'd have to see the house. I don't know how close quarters that is. I don't know how well that would work. Having my parents and my in-laws, in the same house with my kids and their kids and all that stuff. So it'd have to be like a Bruce Wayne type of house to have that kind of separation. But it was really interesting to hear his perspective on it. And sounds like that's what you need, though. Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I love my parents. I love my family. I lived at home for a couple years after I graduated from college, so I knew what that was like. But yeah, that might be a little much. It's nice having them there and somewhere to visit, somewhere to stay. So I kind of like being able to. It's like having a house in all four continents or all four areas, and not actually having to deal with all of the things that come with having the house. So I'll go and visit short bursts, but yeah, I don't think I'm getting the compound for the fam anytime soon.
That was kind of my idea as well. Was like the kids leave and then they go live wherever. Hopefully they live out of Alaska. Like go live in Hawaii. Like go live in Arizona. That way I have some place to go to. I don't have to go buy the house. I don't have to go buy the complex. I don't have to do things. I can just go visit.
Yeah, exactly. And I always I grew up watching Everybody Loves Raymond, so always seeing the in-laws coming from across the street, and that's just popping in whenever you want. It's I went to school 45 minutes away, which is far enough that they couldn't pop over. It was like, hey, just come home real quick. So it was far enough away, but close enough where it was easy. So yeah, I don't know. We're across the street, same neighborhood, might be pushing it a little bit.
Bro, because of that, that's so funny. I've never heard anybody else verbally say that, but I can't tell you how many times I thought that's just how it was supposed to be, man. Like your in-laws coming in, your parents are always over. That's hilarious, bro. What a great way to think about it. So, dude, I'm looking at these comments, man. Dude, you're a very popular dude. Everybody's loving you. Thank you again for being on here. For those who don't know you, what is your background here, man? Like every superhero has their origin story. For the people who don't know you, like who is Zack?
Yeah, so no, I appreciate all of the support in the comments. It's nice. I've been talking to a lot of people within the Growth Code, within Sub 2, and just in general. So it's been great meeting a lot of people. It's something I wish I had done sooner. But as for who I am, so I grew up, born and raised outside of Philly, about an hour north of Philly. So I'm on the East Coast. I grew up playing soccer and swimming in high school. Those are my two main sports. I did baseball for a little while, but sports were definitely a huge part of my life. Part of the reason was because as long as I played sports while I was in school, or while I was in school, as long as I played sports, I didn't have to get a job. So that was a motivator to not play sports. But I also liked the team aspect of it. So playing soccer, swimming. I graduated high school, went on to college, didn't play for like the D1 club or the D1 soccer team. And I definitely did not want to swim in college. That was a nice way to keep in shape for soccer. But so I played club ball at Drexel University, which was nice. 2 practices a week, a game on Saturdays, like super easy. Went to school for mechanical engineering. So the workload on that aspect was pretty high, and was like, I can't balance both. And I didn't want to balance both. So went to school for mechanical engineering, graduated, like I said, moved home for a couple of years, try to save some money. Wish I knew now, or wish I knew then what I know now with when it comes to real estate and house hacking and all that stuff. But lived at home, saved money. I work at a mechanical engineering firm. We design HVAC construction drawings, mainly for pharma, research and development labs. So pretty high technical stuff, but I think it's harder. It sounds harder than it really is. It's not too bad. So mechanical engineer, and then I was a few years into doing that. We bought our own primary residence and was going to the day in, day out, like get up, go to work, come home, like go to the gym, eat dinner, go to bed, and just like that repetitiveness.
Yeah.
And was just like so tired of it, and was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I started diving into like real estate and financial independence, retire early. So that's kind of how I got into real estate, doing some other stuff while trying to maintain that job. And it's been a ride, to say the least, in starting that business. But so the main things I'm doing right now is work, going to the gym, I CrossFit, I do nutrition coaching, I coach CrossFit at my gym, and then just hanging out with the family. I have a almost 1-year-old son, so that's been a nice little add into the mix of what is life and sometimes chaotic.
Dude, you've got a lot of stuff going on right now, man. You're a busy guy. You're a mechanical engineer. You're a modern day Bill Nye. That's so crazy. And I love how you just like float over it. You're like, oh yeah, I got a mechanical engineering degree and I'm doing this thing. It's like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. When I told my parents I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, they were like, well, go get an engineering degree or something while you're thinking about it. Like, go be a lawyer while you're thinking about it. For obvious reasons. Like, take me through. I want to kind of stay here for a second and take me through the thought process, the psychology of this journey that you're kind of going through. Like I'm assuming you went in to be a mechanical engineer because that's what you wanted to do, unless your parents were like mine. They were like, well, Zach, if you don't know what to do with your life, go be a mechanical engineer while you're thinking about it.
Yeah. I definitely didn't, like, my whole life was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be an engineer. I didn't know, even in high school, I was like, I don't know. I like math. I like science. Like, what can I do with that? And it was just engineering. Like, I liked how things worked, but I don't know. I never was like, yeah, I'm always going to be an engineer. I know I want to do that. I wish I had known. Sometimes I still don't even know. It's like, I'm just here because that's just what I decided, and I just kind of went along with it. So no, I definitely did not want to be an engineer for like my whole life. It was just, I like math. I like science. What's a job that I can do that pays well and is worth going to school for? And that's just kind of how it ended up happening.
Dude, that is wild, man. Math is my kryptonite. Math is a 4-letter word in my house. I would rather my kids are dropping F-bombs than coming around here giving me math problems and talking about math. That's terrible, bro. Good for you.
Thanks. All the math in school is way harder.
Or was that something that was always natural for you?
No, I think I just enjoyed like problem solving. I think that was the biggest thing. Like, I saw like every math, like literally there were math problems, but when you get into the more higher level, like calculus and algebra, it's like just thinking at a different level. It's like, putting puzzle pieces together. Like, I always liked, I watched my dad growing up, like leaning over the pool table that we had, putting puzzles together, like literal puzzles. And so I always enjoyed doing that. So it's just like the math problems, as you get into like physics and stuff like that, they're literal, like, hey, here's the scenario that's happening. How can you solve for X, Y variable or whatever it is? So I think that analytical part and the process that engineering brings you and math brings you, like, there's a set order to look at things and how to do things. And I think I liked that organization and the structure of math. Interesting.
How has that mindset with the way that you think about things? Because it is true. I've heard like Pace talk about this a lot as well. Like, engineers, just because of their background and the way that they think and process information and structure and step by step, I'm learning this as a coach myself, how engineers think. And I've got another one in my class right now. We got two of them actually. We've got two of them, and he actually sent me a text this morning, and he kind of broke down a little bit more about how he is thinking and trying to bridge that gap. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's something I didn't know. That's something that's very interesting. So, from your perspective as an engineer, like how has it helped you break down things, or has it kind of been a deterrent? Because I've seen it kind of work both ways, where it's like, oh man, like I don't get it because I need to have like all the steps, so it's hard to see the bigger picture. Or has it been better if it's like, oh well, this is what I need to focus on, and then this is the step by step? Like how has it been for you?
I think it depends on like the situation and the thing that's I'm looking at. When it comes to like, yeah, I have a hard time seeing the bigger picture sometimes. And, when I, during my day job, when we get a situation or whatever the client wants for whatever they're going to build or whatever system they're trying to test, like I have to get all of this information. And then we have to think, all right, we need to know everything about it. And like every possible thing, scenario, option that could go wrong or that we need to consider, or, because they're building this in the field too. So it's like, all right, it's got to be constructible, but it's got like, so thinking through like 10, 12 steps ahead. And before we even get to step one, like that's how we're supposed to operate and to get it all done. So when it comes to like, hey, I know I want to do this, and I think these are the steps, like I have a good easy time kind of working through like, okay, here's all the steps that I need to get laid out, but I'm so worried about the other steps. I'm worried about step 10 and I'm not even at step 1 or 2. So it can be a deterrent where I overthink everything, and then therefore it delays me from taking action rather than like shortening the distance between, hey, this is a great idea, just start doing it and then figure out the rest of it later, rather than like I need to shorten that distance rather than delaying it a little bit, and then like whatever motivation and all that just goes away pretty quickly. So overthinking it is like a massive thing, at least for me. For engineering, I know some other people, engineers, do it. I was doing some coaching with Creighton, and he's an engineer too. I know you guys are friends, and he like, well, a lot of times he talks about stuff and it's like, yep, that's me, like dead on, because he deals with the same stuff.
Interesting. And I know Luke is as well. Is he a mechanical engineer as well? Or is he a different kind of engineer?
No, I think he's mechanical.
Jeez, what's up with all these engineers? This is so crazy, man. I've never even known one engineer. Then it's like all all the engineers are just popping up, man. That's insane.
It's like
man.
the thing, right? When you're going to buy a car, I think you've talked about it before, where you're going to buy a Dodge Charger or something, and now all you see is Chargers everywhere.
Yeah, that must be what it is, man. All the engineers are part of my reticular activating system.
That's what it is.
Yep, there he is. He said, I am. Very interesting, bro. So tell me a little bit more, like how with what were some of the specific struggles? Because what I want to do is I want you to be able to share your story, and I want to kind of uncover some of the things that you went through in this pivot with regard to real estate. Because I know a lot of our viewers right now are either trying to get their first deal, or they're working on scaling their business, or trying to just get some clarity on what they should be focusing on. And I love your story. I love everything that you're doing. Your experience, your experience as an engineer, bridged with your experience as a coach, and being able to see and teach other people things, which is obviously one of the best ways for you to be able to learn something, is to be able to teach it. So you have a perspective that I think not many people have. And I'd kind of like to uncover a little bit of that through your story and where you started, and then kind of bridge that gap into where you are now. I think a lot of people would benefit from it. But when what was going on when you decided that you wanted more? I know you kind of talked about the redundancy and just kind of the day-to-day, like I'm just kind of doing the thing and every day's the same. Like, what thought did you have that provoked, that was like, I want to do something different? Like, did you always know real estate was a thing, or was it like many of us where somebody introduced you like, hey, go read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then that seed was planted? What was it for you?
Yeah, it was, it was kind of recognizing that, hey, I'm in this loop of like monotony in a way. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like enjoyed life, everything was great, like I didn't have any problems, but I was just, I don't know what exactly the catalyst was. But I just
Mhm.
remember sitting there, being like, there's something more than sitting behind this desk from 9 to
Mhm.
5, Monday to Friday for the next 40 years. I don't know what it is. And I don't know how I'm going to figure that out. But
Mhm.
I just remember sitting there thinking, like, there's got to be more, and wanting. I've always just kind of gone with the flow, right? High school, and then just go to college, get a degree, and
Yep.
that's what all my friends were doing. That's what everybody's doing. That's just a path, get a job, have a family, kids, like move into a house, get a dog, like the
Yeah,
American dream, right?
work 40 to 50 years
Yeah, right.
and then retire. Yep.
Exactly. And I don't know what it was, but it just something was like this. There's got to be something more. I know I want more. I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
And I think I was probably just doom scrolling Reddit. Like I was into Reddit for a little while, like 2018, 2019. And for whatever reason, the financial independence like subreddit in there popped up. And so I started, it looked interesting. I started, talking about money and saving. And I was always a big saver. I'm not a super, I'm a very risk adverse person, but I remember seeing that and getting really interested in that and like listening to like financial independence podcasts and seeing that, okay, there's another way. The
Mhm.
problem that I found with that is it's, hey, save 80% of your income, put it in index funds, and in 20 years you can retire rather than 40. It's like, okay, that sounds great. Like, but I have to kind of sacrifice now for potentially later. There's no guarantee that in 20 years I'm
Sure.
healthy enough for alive to see the fruits of that labor. And I have to sacrifice all right, I can't do anything because I'm saving 80% of my income, 90% of my income. And so that's when I started financial independence. And then I stumbled across Bigger Pockets and Rich Dad Poor Dad, all of the stuff that kind of comes into once you get into real estate, all the book recommendations that you see.
Carlin, isn't that kind of similar? I mean, aside from the mechanical engineer, that's kind of similar to what you guys were going through, yeah? Now
Similar.
James is in the military. What was it that kind of stood out for you guys?
It was that realization that a singular income in a household with like 3 kids was not like I love traveling. I love being able to see things and go experience things. And when you have one single income and a handful of mouths to feed, you're kind of like, okay, I can't go work because then I'm just paying for daycare
Yeah.
and
And
throwing
daycare is
myself,
expensive, man.
dude, so expensive.
It's more than my mortgage. It's
Dude,
crazy.
when I got my tax
It's disgusting.
returns a few years ago and my kids were in daycare, dude, in 1 year I paid like 26,000 in just daycare. In 1 year, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane!" And this was daycare on
Yeah.
base, bro.
You're
This is
like,
a few
oh,
years
it's
ago. This was
so much
daycare on
better.
base.
No.
This wasn't even like some sort of privatized daycare or something that most people are probably going to. This was the cheap stuff. I paid $26,000 a year, man. It was insane.
I don't care who says it. The CDC is not cheap. They are not. They're the only benefit you have is that your kids are on base, and that's hardly a benefit when you have to drive them to base and then drive 30 minutes back.
True that. True that. So I remember you and I got connected a few years ago, and I kind of know the story. James, it sounded like, bridge that gap real quick, because James was like, oh yeah, we'll just reach out to Jesse, but I don't really have the context that happened before that.
So I'm on the polar opposite end of temperatures. So our AC, like, where were you when I needed you, Zach? Because our AC just exploded, like literally exploded. Like Freon, I thought James was dead. I was
Oh man,
panicking. It
dude,
was
you
horrible.
could have used Zach, man. He's got a
I
formula
know.
for fixing ACs.
I know. That's why I said, where were you when I needed you? So our AC blew up. It was the middle of July, which I'm in New Mexico, so that's about 106 degrees on average.
Yep.
Like, not a great time. So I'm sitting there. We get our AC fixed. It's $6,000 after insurance. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. If James can't support this, like, it's not to say that he's not making money. We got, like, at that point, I'm pregnant with our 4th kid. So we're like, oh crap. And so I started, doom scrolling. Okay, how can I make quick money?
Hitting the Reddits.
Hitting the Reddits, hitting the tubes, hitting all the things. And it's like, oh, you can wholesale. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Liars. Like, it is not 1, 2, 3. So
it's not 1, 2, 3 Lamborghini.
It's not 1, 2, 3 Lamborghini.
That's so weird.
I know. Okay. So I called James. I'm like, hey, babe. So just so you know, I ordered some books. And he was just like, crap.
Something's up.
Yeah. So I gets home. My books got here. I'm like, look, I'm going to learn real estate. And he's like the supportive, loving husband he is. He was just like,
another thing.
I've got this friend. Reach out to my friend Jesse. I was like, I don't know who that guy is. Why would you want me to reach out to a stranger? Like, and so after some time, I went and perused your Facebook like a stalker would. I was like, okay, this dude is doing things. If James says he's comfortable with it, clearly this guy's good. Let me just go talk to him. And then lo and behold, that's where the Fizbos came into play. That's where my best friend came from. And here we are, many moons later.
Wow. Interesting. So it came from essentially both of you guys at one point, you're just like, man, I am capable of more. I don't want to live the way that I'm living right now. It's redundant. And real estate seems to offer kind of the lifestyle I'm looking for. Now, as both of you found out after jumping in, it's not 1, 2, 3 Lamborghini. But what were some of the things, Zach, that you struggled with specifically, especially in the beginning?
I think getting over the not knowing what I'm doing part. Like, yeah, I've read the books, I've listened to the podcast, but getting over the initial, like, all right, let's just get started. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's move forward with it. I didn't do a lot of real estate before joining Sub 2. I joined the end of 21, I think. So it was still pretty early in Sub 2. And I joined it because of the community. I was like, okay, at least if I do something and don't know what I'm doing, there's a group of people who are doing the same thing. And I can be like, hey, here's what I've come across. Someone help me here, please. Like, right. So that gave me the confidence to move forward with it, which was nice. And then, jumping in, they had the 0 to hero, like, hey, this is how you wholesale step by step. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at following processes. Let's do that. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So they have it laid out. So let's do that. So jumped into wholesaling. I was like, okay, this seems like a great way. I don't have to take responsibility of the property. After it gets under contract, I sell to somebody else and it's their problem. Now I don't have to worry about actually rehabbing and stuff like that. So I think just getting started and then just being consistent with doing something towards real estate every day, after work, before work, anything like that.
Let's talk about that. I really want to dive deep on discipline here. Was that discipline for you there right from the get-go? Were you disciplined, but maybe disciplined in the wrong things? Or looking back, were you just not disciplined and not consistent? Like, for you, what was your experience in that realm? Because one thing that I have learned going throughout this entire thing is that discipline and consistency will beat out talent any given day of the week. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And for that reason alone, I think a lot of people hold themselves back. I've seen people, there are people that are doing more than what, and I'm just going to say you, I'm talking to everybody here, but there's people that are doing more than you are, that are less qualified than you are, that are making a lot of money doing it simply just because they believe in themselves and they are disciplined and they are consistent. You know more than they do. You're more qualified than they are. And I've seen consistency and discipline outperform talent any given day of the week. But Zach, what was your experience in that, and how did it evolve?
Yeah, so I mean, it was hard at first because part of it was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my superpowers were, so I was stuck doing everything, and that included things that I didn't want to do. So that definitely made it harder to do the thing. The nice thing that I did have going for me, and Luke kind of mentioned it, is I've always gone to the gym. I've always been somebody, sports kind of started that. And thankfully, CrossFit is kind of a sport in a way. That's the sport of fitness is what they call themselves. So when sports were done, I just rolled into that as my sport. So that was something that allowed me to continue to be consistent. There wasn't the couple year gap, between high school and college or college and working where you stop going to the gym because you're busy with other stuff. So I did have the discipline of going to the gym. So I tried to, I think in Atomic Habits, they, habit stacking where like you kind of put one habit with something else you already do. So to help be consistent, I tried to like stack that onto the gym where I wouldn't allow myself to go to the gym without making calls, those follow-up calls to sellers, or I would go to the gym and immediately call sellers before I took a shower. So like I would try to stack those two and combine them to stay consistent and to not give myself time to like talk myself out of doing the thing I knew I needed to do. So it was hard and there was days where I didn't do it and I wish I had done it and regretted not doing it after I didn't do it. So the doing the things that I didn't enjoy doing that were not my superpower was the hardest part of being consistent.
Gotcha. But what's interesting is even though you found like you were doing the thing that wasn't in alignment with what your superpower is or what your avatar was, you still figured out a way to maintain consistency and discipline with it. Go back real quick. You called it habit stacking. Is that what I heard?
Yep.
Unfold that for a second, because I think I kind of understood the premise of it, but I want to dive deep a little bit into that. Conceptually, like, do you do this with every habit, or and the goal, if I'm understanding this right, is to basically take something that you're already doing, and do you kind of turn it into an ultimatum where you can no longer do this unless you do this, or is it like kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily like an ultimatum, but picking something that you do easily without thinking, or you have to do every day anyway. I think in Atomic Habit, James Clear talks about like brushing your teeth or something like that, and he called like, all right, before you brush your teeth, drink a glass of water. Like if that's the habit that you want to start doing that you're not doing, find something that you already have built a habit on and pair that with each other so it becomes easier to gain that habit.
Dude, that is so good.
That's been super helpful. And I mean, when I have nutrition clients, that's usually the example I give them. Like water, like is a big thing. People don't realize they're not drinking enough water. So, typically people sitting at a desk all day are answering emails. Hey, every time you answer an email, sip of water real quick, easy, stack it. And next thing you know, you're going to be drinking a ton of water. It's like Pavlov's dog. Like you answer an email and you're just going to not even think about it. You're going to go and grab a sip of water.
Interesting.
I need to go get some
Dude,
water.
that is so freaking good. Are there anything else that are similar to that you have clients doing? Maybe even from like a nutritional aspect?
Yeah, so setting a timer, I mean, honestly, like especially for water, is like something that you want to do more is really good. And even when it comes to like eating slower and being more mindful, like setting a timer and giving yourself that time to, hey, if you want to listen to a podcast, stack that. Or if you're already listening to a podcast, stack that with eating and say, hey, this is a 20-minute podcast. I'm going to listen to this while I eat, and I'm not going to finish my food before I finish the podcast, and just kind of sitting there and enjoying that more. So just trying to pair those things with something that you already do, and it's a huge help.
Bro, I am taking notes like nobody's. This is so good, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sitting here thinking like, one of the things that Carlin and I really encourage people to do is to journal. And there's about 1 million different ways you can journal and things to be cognizant of and ways to journal and things like that. But one of the things that I love to do, especially when it comes to building discipline and maintaining consistency, is I have what I ended up doing was, and I've shared this with you guys before. I'll go over it again real quick though. I'll write down like Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday and Thursday and so on and so forth, and just document what you do. Because what you'll come to find is the results that you're after, 100% of your results come from only about 20% of the things that you're actually doing. And in order to find out what those things are and where you can capitalize on it and increase your consistency in those areas and your discipline and grow those areas, the only way to know what's working, what's not working is to document it. So like Zack is saying, if you start habit stacking, gosh, I freaking love that, dude. If you start habit stacking and you're just documenting, you don't judge it. Don't sit in here, go into this and try to intentionally change what you're doing or anything like that. To get started, just document. On Monday, this is when I had breakfast. This is what time I had it. This is how long it was. Went and dropped the kids off at school. This is how long it took me. Jumped into a meeting. This is who I talked to. This is how long it was. This is what we talked about. Jumped on another Zoom, had another phone call, went and did this, had lunch. This is how long it was. Blah, 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 blah. Went and checked emails, analyzed and underwrote properties. This is how long it took, blah, 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 blah. So you're just documenting, and then do the same thing for Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Do that Monday through Saturday. If you want to do it for a couple weeks, do it for a couple weeks. If you do it at least through Monday through Saturday, and on Sunday, go spend 20 minutes on Sunday and just go through everything that you wrote down. Figure out what it is that you are actually doing. You're going to find out so much about your habits, your discipline, and the things that you're actually spending time on that aren't getting you any closer where it is you're trying to be. But the only way you can make those pivots is if you're even cognizant and aware of them. It's funny because had you would have told me this when I was first starting out, I would have just like in one ear and out the other. Like, Jesse, that's great. Someday when I have a functioning business, I'll get into that. But right now I just need to call sellers. I just need to do the thing. And me being where I am right now, like this is exactly what I would have done to get started. Like I can't tell you, it took me the better part of a year, somewhere between 9 and 12 months to even get my first deal, because I was doing anything and everything. I had no idea what was working. I had no idea what wasn't working. I had no idea where I was spending my time. I was doing all the things, man. I wasn't disciplined. I was very sporadic. I was very inconsistent. And had I known how I was spending my time and been able to identify the habits that make up the 20% that account for all of my results, I would have been able to double down on them and then start doing the habit stacking, which you're talking about, Zack. Gosh, dude, I'm going to start going through my own stuff today and start going through that and trying to figure out where I can grow. Joe says I waste all my time on Instagram. No, Joe doesn't even need to document that to know that. That's where we start, Joe. I'm going to have to start putting parent controls on your Instagram, man. Let me have it. All right, cool. Dude, this was awesome.
Yeah, I think to add on to that too is something that I've been working on is figuring out what I enjoy doing too. And that that's been part of the problem too, is like I don't really love specific things. Like I don't think there's one thing where it's like, oh, this like for sure. And so that's what I've been trying to figure out over the past, few months. I was like just doing the thing just to do the thing and not really thinking about it. So taking the journal that you're already doing and saying, here's what I'm doing all day, whatever you want to do, scale or 1 to 5, however, how much am I enjoying this task? And that will help be able to figure out who do I need to find to help me with things, or what can I start focusing on more? Like you said, all of your 20% brings you most of your results. So if I can make the 20% of the things I actually enjoy doing, that would be ideal.
Oh, whoops. Dude, can you expand on this for a second? And I got another thing I want to ask you. Thank you for sharing that. What are your thoughts on this, Zack? Joe says, bro, do what we love to do. That's going to be the question forever, I think. What do you mean by that when you say that? Do what you love to do.
You're asking me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you have to to get any results and to be able to be consistent, doing things that you enjoy doing will make that, resistance, that path of resistance a lot easier. And the quicker we can go from thinking of something or knowing we have to do something to actually doing it will be the most effective way to be consistent with what you're doing. So if you enjoy it, if you love what you're doing and find what you like to do, you're going to be more likely to have the resistance to being disciplined. It'll be easier to be disciplined and be consistent and build a better habit.
I 100% agree, man. There are things that I have found that just come natural to me just because of who I am, just how I was born. There are things that are so specific to you, Zach, that you do better than anybody else without even thinking. And a lot of times in and of itself, like just the way that your brain works, nobody can replicate that. It's a fingerprint. It's in Zach's DNA. You have a huge leg up on so many people simply because of who you are and how you think. There are certain skills and things that you can teach people, but there are other things that you can never replicate. And it's so easy. I remember when I first started out, I would look up to like all these gurus and people who are doing stuff. And I used to think like, oh my gosh, like if only I could be Grant Cardone, or if only I could be Bill Gates, like my life would be so much easier. But it's interesting because one of my all-time favorite quotes is from a guy named Kurt Cobain. I've shared this a lot, but I'll share it again because it's worth mentioning. For those of you guys who don't know, Kurt Cobain was the lead guitarist and singer for the band Nirvana. And he said, wanting to be somebody else is a waste of the person you are. And when I really started to understand what my natural gifts are and what I loved to do, the question then just becomes like, okay, well, what's the path of least resistance here? How do I monetize who I naturally am? And so I started building a list of what those traits were, what those characteristics were. And my mom used to call me a social butterfly. So when I was growing up, I was always mama's social butterfly. And it was true. I mean, I guess that's probably ought to put that on my Instagram. Probably ought to update my Instagram, put social butterfly on there.
Mama's social butterfly.
Mama's social butterfly. But then the question is like, how do I monetize it? And it's like, okay, well, how do we take this thing? You want to build relationships. You can go be a connector. You can go build relationships, closing deals. So you can go do all this. So it funnels like that path of least resistance. Like, okay, this is what I already do naturally. Now I just need to figure out what skills do I need to build to enhance what I'm already doing and just take that path of least resistance. So I love that you said that. Thank you, Zach. I 100% agree. What Facebook user, for those of you guys who don't know, real quick, I'll just put this out here. At the where you guys are watching the stream right now, there's a description right above the stream. And in that description, there's a link. And that link says, it says something to the effect of, click this link to share your name with StreamYard, so your name can be shared with StreamYard via Facebook, or something to that effect. If you guys click that link, then we can, I know you guys on your end, it's popping up on your end, and you guys can see who's posting, but we can't for some reason. So if you wouldn't mind going and hitting that link so we can see who we're talking to, that would be super, super helpful. But thank you for this. Thank you for this comment. I really appreciate it. They said, man, I feel that. I'm getting less and less disciplined the longer I do this. It's tough when you don't make money. Carlin, what comes to mind when you first read that? Thank you, Facebook user, again, for posting this. Thank you for sharing this.
I mean, I agree with it. When you're working and spinning your wheels and trying to figure it all out, and you're not seeing results. I mean, you're putting in all sorts of time. You're putting in as much effort as you possibly can, and you're exerting all of your energy. It gets exhausting. And after a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, hands in the air. Now what? I just think of how long it took me to get my first wholesale deal. And it's just like, I remember calling the person I was working with every single day. Hey, what do we need to do? Hey, how do I help move this forward? Hey, how long does this process actually take? Because it's been 6 months and we need to pay off this AC. Like, that's what I think of, because it's tedious, and it's emotionally draining more than
Yeah.
anything else
Mhm.
when you're not making money, but you're working as hard as you possibly can. And especially when you've created the disciplinary habits, you're like, okay, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm calling sellers for 4 hours. I'm
Mhm.
in the meetings. I'm talking to the people. What am I doing wrong here?
Right.
And then after a certain point, you're just like, fuck it. I'm done. This is ridiculous.
No,
It's
I feel you. I
tiring.
can't tell you how many times, especially in when I first started getting into real estate, where the frustrating part about this is you take people who grew up in this W-2 mindset, and then they go and they venture into real estate and they start wanting to make all of this money, but they're not working on, they don't know what the habits, thoughts, behaviors, and emotions and what actions they need to be taking. And so they put themselves in a position where it starts to get frustrating because you want to build this business. You know that you're capable of building it, but there's a self-development side as well. There's a business side of it and there's a self-development side of it. And part of that self-development side, I think everybody in the comments said this was Zach Hamilton. Well, Zach, thank you again for this question, man. I think it starts right here. I think it's not a matter of whether you're disciplined or not. It doesn't sound like, because you can be disciplined, but you can be disciplined doing all the wrong things. You can be disciplined having all the wrong habits. And so I think being able to journal and track what you're doing every single day. Now, whether you're wanting to wholesale, whether you're wanting to buy and hold, that's where you start to understand, okay, I jumped on a call with this person and we were on a call for 45 minutes and this is what we talked about, but leaving this conversation, how intentional was I in it? Is it even in alignment with what it is that I'm trying to do? Or do I spend the whole time either talking about myself or hear them talking about themselves? And then when you get off that Zoom or that phone call, your business is in no better position than it was when you first started. So I think from my perspective, Zach, I think this would be a great place for you to start. And I understand it's tough when you're not making money in this. Real estate is extremely difficult. But once you understand what your thoughts, behaviors, emotions, actions, like all of these play into each other. And then once you have all these, once you start working on these and you're building these skills, what you'll come to realize is that most people are only a couple chess pieces away from being where they want to be. Like if you're sitting right here and your goal is right in front of you, there's a chessboard in between. And there's only a couple pieces that you need on that chessboard to be where you want to be. But a lot of times, people end up running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And that was me. I use that term because that was me. I was literally busy doing all the things. I was disciplined to some extent. I was also inconsistent in a lot of others. And it really hindered my ability to understand how money works, how relationships are leveraged, how to, create the type of life and business that I was wanting to build. John Winston said, I have no idea how I'm here. I only watch sports highlights, but somehow YouTube recommended this to me. So I just clicked it, and I'm listening to Mama Social Butterfly. Well, John, thank you for being here, brother. We don't really talk too much about sports on here, but probably that would have been my calling in another life, probably. But Zach, is there anything that I missed there? Anything in your experience that you think Zach Hamilton could benefit from or should know?
I think it's easy to get caught up. I mean, everything you said was great, and I agree 100%. I think the one thing too is you get so stuck in that wheel of like, yeah, you're being consistent, you're doing the right thing, but it's not working. Why isn't it working, right? And even if you do have all the tasks that you're doing, right, that's a great start to know what you're doing and whether or not that's actually helping you or not. But I think sometimes, you're in the weeds so much that getting another perspective is helpful too. I know I saw a bunch of people saying in there, like, what do you need? Like, what do you need help with? And I think, one of the things that really helped me when I was stuck in that wholesaling wheel and feeling stuck was actually the first time I talked to you and Chris was, you guys had just joined together and threw out a thing like, hey, we're trying to talk to as many people as we can. And I felt stuck. So I jumped on with you guys and here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing every day. Here's how I'm doing it. And just having another perspective come in completely blind for what you're actually doing and saying, oh, here's what I see what you're doing. This is great, but have you tried this or have you tried that? So I think reaching out to somebody and saying, like, people who see somebody doing the thing are more willing to help that person than somebody who's like, I haven't done anything. Can you help me? So the fact that you're doing it is great. And then getting another person to come in and just, hey, here's what I see what you're doing. Have you tried this or have you tried that? And that different perspective sometimes is the spark that you need. That's why you see a lot of people get coaches, right? Business coaches, mindset coaches, nutrition coaches, fitness coaches. You know what you should do. Maybe you're doing a thing, but you just need that little tweak that you're not aware of or that you don't see. Sure. And that makes all the difference.
Dude, well said, bro. Well said. In my experience, you're not always going to be motivated to do the thing. So you have to learn to be disciplined. What are some things that you have put into place to help maintain that discipline, even when you feel like you don't do it, you don't want to be doing it?
Friendships, community, accountability are like the three biggest things. I mean, when it comes to the gym and fitness, yeah, like I love going most days, but that, I've been doing that for 17 years. So I've built that in, but there are days where it's just like, man, it's been a long day. I have zero desire to do any of the work. And most of the time, the reason that I end up going is I know a buddy of mine's going to that same class or going to be there at the same time, and that makes it easier. So like that, having that accountability is super helpful. The other thing, when it's something that I'm trying to build too, is to just do one part of it or the first part of it. Sometimes it's just, all right, I'm going to get my gym clothes on. I don't have to go, but let me just put my gym clothes on. Yeah. And usually you put the gym clothes on, you're like, all right, like just getting that initial momentum gets you going and is the big thing, or just going to the gym. Right. And that sometimes is that initial step is good. And, another example is getting up early in the morning to do the work that you need to do. Right. I don't want to get up. It's nice and warm in here. It's cold out, cold out there. And sometimes it's just like, all right, let me just get up and just go downstairs and feed the dog. And if that's all I do, once I do that, I give myself permission to go back up into bed. Most of the time you do that first step. You're like, all right, well, I'm already up. Let me grab my journal or let me grab my book and read. Right. So it's just doing the first thing and giving yourself, all right, you only have to do that. And then you can go back to doing whatever you preferred to be doing that you stop yourself from doing.
Dude, that is so good. That is so stinking good. Luke says, that's awesome. I'm just vain and want to look like a Greek god. I'm trying to build that up too, man. One of my favorite, I want to read you guys a quote, and then I want to get your and Carlin's perspective on this. I'm going to read you guys a quote from Abraham Lincoln. He said, discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Carlin, let's start with you. What does that mean to you when you hear that? What do you think of when you hear that? And by the way, before you answer that, real quick, guys, I'd love to make this part as much of a two-way communication as we can. What does that mean to you guys? Throw this in the chat. I'll read that one more time. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most.
I think of ice cream. First and foremost, like what I want now would be chocolate chip cookie dough. What I want most is to be able to fit into this dress for this wedding in a month. So it's like, okay, do I eat the ice cream? Probably shouldn't eat the ice cream because that's not going to help with the result I'm trying to get. Do I want to go jump rope? Ice cream still sounds better, but the jump roping is going to help with the dress situation.
Stack of jump roping with brushing your teeth, Carlin.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? No, I actually really do enjoy jump roping. So it works out because I'm like, okay, ice cream. No, I'm just going to go jump rope instead. And then I feel better that I chose the jump rope over the bowl of ice cream.
There's nothing better than getting that. Yeah, no, there's nothing better than that feeling of accomplishment from knowing that you did the thing. There's no better feeling than that. And then it's funny because that feeling compounds and it gives you just that much more courage to maintain that consistency the next time. What I like in my head, the way that a Facebook user said, delayed gratification, just do the thing. Tie it back to when you had us think about our future selves. Ooh, that is a really good one.
Let me go to Facebook and see who said that. Ah, Mindy.
Mindy. Love that, Mindy. Thank you. I saw her name pop up every now and then. You know what I think of when I like each time that I level up. So when I was first starting out, I didn't have like really any money to spare. As a matter of fact, and I think I made a post about it last night, I think. When I first got my Planet Fitness membership, I was like, man, do I fork out for the $20 a month one and put my family in a bind potentially? Or do I just go with the $10 one and be satisfied with what I have? And then I'd fork out for the $20 one, and the entire time, like my anxiety would be so high because it's like, oh my gosh, like something came up with the car, the check engine light came on in the car. We got to go get this thing done. Or something broke with the house. We got to have somebody come in and do this. The kids need things for school, or they need clothes, or they need shoes, or whatever it was. Like it always just seemed like things just kept popping up, and it kept me from living the life that I wanted to live. And each time that I've leveled up, like if I started at the bottom and those things breaking was a level 3, each time that I leveled up and learned how to, because the way that you understand life events, that it's neither positive nor negative. It's the way that you interpret that event and your understanding of that event that determines whether it's positive or negative. Your emotion about that event is then going to determine what action you take on that event. If somebody cuts you off, most people would be pretty pissed off, right? So because of their emotions around it, their reactions, the action that they take, they're going to be honking the horn, they're going to be flipping the bird, they're going to be cussing, they're going to be that's the action that's going to take. But if that person who cuts you off, if their wife is pregnant and in labor and they're on their way to the hospital, knowing that changes your thought process around it. That changes your emotion about it. That changes the way that you feel about it. It doesn't change the actual life event. And so the action that you're going to take is completely different. And so as you understand these life events and you gain perspective from people who see reality differently than you do, that's when you start to level up. That's when you start to understand things a little bit differently. One of my favorite quotes is from Warren Buffett. He said, if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money. And so as you continue leveling up, if the check engine light on the car comes on and that's a level 3 and you're at a level 4 or a level 5, something like that it's so much easier to go figure out how to go make money to solve that problem than it does causing you to go into a frenzy and be like, oh my gosh, I knew I shouldn't have forked out for the $20 Planet Fitness because now I got this thing going on that needs to be fixed. I don't know if you guys seen this. John Winston is still here. Just subscribed, just left this on while I work. Nice motivational talk. Thanks, Sean. We'll have to figure out how to get some more sports stuff in here for you. At least maybe throw some. Maybe Zach can help out with that. Zach's kind of a sports guy. We can get some more sports metaphors or some more sports talk. Maybe we'll have to have Michael Jordan for one of these next shows.
Just put it in the
I'll call
description.
and book him. Yeah, I'll just call him, get him booked real quick.
John, dude, thank you for participating. Thank you for your comment in here. As for the quote, John said, I feel like to me, it means if whatever you want in life, it's about making the steps today for the future. Stay away from instant gratification. Live for tomorrow, not today. That's so good. I love that. Zach, What are your thoughts on this quote?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing what you need to doing. So it's that it makes me think of that graph or image where it's the like easy now, hard later, right? So it's that short little slide down, and then it's like a cliff up that the person, if you took that easy down, it would mean you have a long, hard, climb up, or the hard now, and then it's like smooth sailing there. That's kind of what that makes me think of.
Dude, I've seen that graphic before. It so accurately communicates how most people live their life. They choose the easy path. They choose something that's comfortable. They don't have to become an entrepreneur. They don't have to be required to think and to solve higher level problems. They just have to wake up every day and just continue doing the thing, and it's easy. And then once you get hard, once inflation hits and it costs you, $1 million just to go freaking grocery shopping now, it's like, that's the hard, right? That's the hard that you're talking about. People choose the easy life, and then that's now the hard, versus what a lot of us are doing here. And John, thanks for being here, bro. If you want to learn more about real estate, or most of us here and on this show and in the comments are real estate investors, and that's what we talk. That's what we talk about, is learning how to change what it is we're trying to do, and getting into real estate with no money and no credit, no banks, no nothing like that. There was a huge misconception for a lot of us when we first started getting into this, that you had to have money, you had to have resources, you had to have good credit to be able to go in and purchase real estate. And so this podcast is all about have people coming on and sharing their stories and showcasing that you don't really need to have any of that. And to even get started, it all starts with the way that you see reality and what you choose to do with it, and the people that you surround yourself with. So I know you came here for sports, brother, but thank you again for being here. Thank you for participating, and thank you guys for all being here. We really appreciate it. Zach, in wrapping up, brother, thank you, dude. This was so good, dude. I'm glad this was recorded so I can go back and fill in some of the notes that I wasn't able to get as we were moving along. But in short, man, what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so I was wholesaling. Went through the growth cohort, which was awesome. I was wholesaling through probably 90% of that whole class, and realized that I didn't get into real estate to wholesale. So have been focusing on the buy and hold aspect of it, and was initially looking at buying creatively, single family stuff, and have recently started to dive into the multifamily space. And have been really enjoying that, because I like the business side of stuff. And multifamily is like buying a business, but real estate too. So there's a lot of advantages to that I think is great. And I've been having a great time learning how to underwrite that stuff and look at it. So I've been in the process of connecting with other people in that space that are ahead of me and are at the same level as me, so I can learn and grow with them. So that's been my focus. That's one thing I didn't do when I first started wholesaling, was like connect with people at the same level and in front of me, so I can have resources at all different levels and learn from people and help people. So right now it's connecting and just learning about the multifamily space. And, I would love to get a property. I'm looking 5 to 50 units. That's my goal, is to get something, before the end of the year.
Bro, let's go, man. Let's get a couple things for the end of the year. Let's see what we can do to collaborate on some stuff, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everything was solo. I want to work with people. I don't care what aspect. I don't care if I get 2% of it. Like, I just want to work with people, meet friends. Like, that's why I'm going to Squad Up in Orlando. Like, let me just start doing all the networking stuff that I didn't do before, and just meet anyone and everyone, intentionally, but talk to people and just start crushing in the multifamily space.
Dude, that's amazing. I want to kind of talk about something that we discussed last night. And during last night's cohort, we talked about goal setting. And we talked about the scenario that we went through with everybody is, if you had to write a 300-page book by the end of the year, what would you do? Like if that was the goal, to write a 300-page book by the end of the year, what would you do? And we broke out into, what are those called? Just groups in Zoom. Breakout rooms. That's the word I'm looking for. Everyone broke out into breakout rooms and discussed this and started putting together this goal sheet of how they were going to do it, what resources they were going to need, what potential pitfalls they would encounter, what are the action steps, what are the support systems that they're going to have in place. And it was interesting to have the groups come back and share what they've put together. And then we further talked about how many of you started with the end in mind. I can't tell you how many times, like, I've taken my kids to Red Robin and they get the kids menus, and on there's always games and coloring things and things like that. And my daughter a couple of weeks ago was filling one of those things out. She kind of nudges me and I look down and she completed a maze. It was kind of a complex maze. I was kind of surprised. She's 7 years old. And I was like, babe, that's amazing. And I grabbed another kids menu that wasn't used. And I said, do this again. And it was interesting watching her. And I know a lot of you guys have done this yourself. She started from the end and then worked her way towards the beginning. And I was like, who taught you that? That's amazing. And it's the same thing with our goals. You start with the end and you start reverse engineering and start working your way backward. As they were putting these books together, these things like, it needs to be, we need to have the first rough draft written right here. It's going to need to be the editor by this time. We're going to have to start reaching out for publishing this time. It was really interesting as they broke back out and they started with the end in mind and started reverse engineering this back from 12 months, what they came up with. And then we debriefed again. And then we split into groups again. And we said, hey, if you had to do it in 6 months instead of a year, what would you do differently? Build this timeline out now. Now you got to get a little bit more strategic. And it was neat to hear how everybody kind of reverse engineered that. And then I was able to share a little bit about what I would do, because they're from their perspective, they're looking at it like, okay, well, if I write like 5 pages a day and then divide that equally, then I can get to here, and here. This is how I would do it. And when you think about your goals, when you think about the things that you're wanting to do with inside of your business and why you're not there, I think a lot of things like that is the wrong way of thinking. I think it's how a lot of us just naturally, I think it's a lot of that W-2 mindset of, hey, if I just do this. But the hard part is that's not how life happens. Life doesn't just happen and every single day for a year, you're going to be able to just wake up and write 5 pages. Things are going to happen. Things are going to come up. Whether you're working late, whether you have to work in early, you have to work weekends, your wife had things going on, kids need to go to the hospital. Like, there's so many different things that happen that throw curveballs in what it is that that we're trying to do. And so we have to acknowledge that. We have to be prepared for that. And in your business, you have to be able to create leverage. And there's a handful of different ways to create leverage. And one is cash. Another big one for me is collaboration. And I after we kind of debriefed, I said, can I share, guys, just kind of my thoughts? I've never written a book before, but if I was going to, and this was my goal right off the top, like, this is what I would do. I know Carlin loves to write. And I know Carlin has 3 other friends that also love to write. And they have, like, once a week they get together and they journal and they write and they're writing stories and doing all the things. I would reach out to Carlin and I would basically have her interview me. I would spend 2 weeks sending her a bunch of, like, voice messages, of chronological, of my life chronologically, if I was going to write like an autobiography or something. And then I would let Carlin do the writing. And then it's up to Carlin to have these deadlines. And if she has questions, like, we'll meet once a week. And it was neat to be able to see everybody's reaction. It was like, oh, wow. Oh my gosh, this is a completely 180 different way of thinking about how to do this, as opposed to something like that is way more manageable. And then what do I do with all that time now? Now, how do I put myself out there? How do I market? What other relationships can I go build while this book is being written to support this thing going out? So anyway, I just share that with you guys because you're seeing this happen live right now. Like, collaboration is one of the best things that you can do if you guys are feeling stuck in your business. I would ask you, while you're disciplined, you could be disciplined being busy and doing all the things. Are you disciplined doing the right things? like Zack said, community and accountability is one of the big things that anybody should have when it comes to building discipline and healthy habits. You're seeing it right here. It's like, oh, Zack's doing multifamily. I'm also wanting to get into bigger commercial multifamily this year. Let's find a way to collaborate. Let's have some intentional conversations, figure out how we can work together. What an amazing way to speed up the process, or to metaphorically speak, not even metaphorically, just buy back your time. What an amazing way to 10x. What an amazing way to build more and do less. So if you guys are lacking the results that you're after, we spent a lot of time today talking about discipline. And Zack, thank you again, dude. Like, the nuggets that you dropped was just phenomenal, man. There were some gems, 100%. I'm excited to be able to go back and share some of these clips that you shared with everybody. Thank you. This was awesome. What do you have? Or I'm sorry, what do you need right now in your business? What is it that you're looking for? If you could have like one or two things over the next week or two, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, more deal flow is always great. I'm underwriting. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing all the things right now. I'm broker outreach and, connecting with other wholesalers who are reaching out to these multifamily. So I'm doing a lot of underwriting, which I'm enjoying. So somebody else who is building relationships, whether that is with brokers, with private money lenders, or just commercial lenders as well. So looking for somebody who's more a social butterfly that likes to do all of those things, because I like having these conversations, but going out and having 5-10 conversations a day, is impossible for me, but not something that I love doing. Get me behind a computer, give me some spreadsheets, let me talk to some people if I need to.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Thank you, brother. And one more thing, you have a podcast.
Yep.
Dude, real quick, where can everybody, like in 30 seconds, like what is the podcast and where can people tune in?
Yeah. So health and fitness is a huge part of my life. It's, something that's literally changed my life. And so I've learned a lot through going to the gym and being healthy and, dialing nutrition in and finding balance between being really strict with nutrition. So I started a podcast called Wealthy Wellbeing. I do live on Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern. I have all my episodes recorded on Spotify. I have it all on my YouTube channel, and it's really just breaking everything down, right? It's very similar business, very similar to real estate. It's a lot of the same steps, just geared towards fitness and nutrition, and how you can balance both a busy lifestyle, whether that is an entrepreneur, stay-at-home mom, a busy W-2 employee, and being able to find health and fitness and fit it in, so you're not completely restricting and completely eliminating things. It's not a diet thing. It's how can we integrate a healthy lifestyle with the busy lifestyle that we already have.
Dude, it's one of my favorite podcasts, and it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on myself as well. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. How can people reach out to you lastly?
Yeah, so my Instagram handles in this video here, Zack Busch 924, which is my birthday. So it's easy for people to see if they want to wish me happy birthday, which so that Instagram, Facebook, Messenger is totally cool. And then I have that access to my phone. So that's going to be the quickest and easiest. And I'll get back to you as quick as I can.
Oh yeah, brother. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again. Guys, give Zack some love. This was absolutely phenomenal, man. I want to highlight this real quick before we hop off. I'm assuming this is Zack Hamilton. It's almost 100% not to go up from here. I don't have credit, money, house, friends, or family life. I've isolated myself away, besides being on camera, just out of reach from everyone. Zack, shoot me a DM right now, bro. Shoot me a DM. Let me know where I can help you. Let me know where I can support you. Let me know where I can help give you a leg up or some insight, or just kind of get the ball rolling, man. The neat thing about this podcast and this community is no one should ever feel isolated. No one should ever feel like they're doing this on their own. And we're here to help be a resource in any way that we can. Please shoot me a DM right now. If you don't, I'm going to shoot you a DM. With that said, thank you guys. Zack, thank you again. Carlin, I appreciate you guys. I love you both sincerely. I hope you both have an amazing day. Have a wonderful weekend. And everybody else, if there's anything that you need, please reach out. Love you guys. Have a good one.